Hello. I am thrilled to be with you today and to be kicking off a brand new theme for a brand new month. Happy November, by the way. Last month, the theme was audacity and visibility. So if you are wanting to be more audacious and utilize more audacious energy in your business, which I would highly recommend, especially for the added benefit of more visibility for you, your brand, and your business, I would highly recommend you go back and listen to the October episodes. But for this month, we are starting a fresh, brand new theme. And that theme is feminine energetics of magnetism and receiving. I'm so excited. And this is very fun for me because you already know. I mean, if you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, you know that my thing is strategy and energetics. I will never, ever just teach you the strategy because I know, and I've always known, even just intuitively, I've always known there's two sides of the play here. And one is only as good if the other one is also present. You have to have both, or it's better if you can have both. And ultimately, that's masculine and feminine energies. And what's so funny is I rarely touch the topic of quote feminine energy, head on, even though, again, I talk energetics and energy all the time and I understand it very well. But I didn't allow myself to really take it head on because I have noticed as of late, I had this breakthrough that I'm actually really good at balancing these two energies. However, I've told myself for a very long time that I'm far more comfortable in my masculine energy. And I am in some regards, and we'll talk about that. And if you're somebody who also relates to that, we're going to get into why this is so. So get excited about that. But the more that I pay attention and the more that I kind of look backwards, I see, wait, I'm not bad at balancing these two. I just undervalued the balancing and the utilizing of the feminine. So I didn't allow myself to practice and utilize the feminine energies and dynamics and strategies as much as I think I could have. Okay. So anyway, this month, we are breaking down one of the most quantum energies that you can possess, and she is quantum. Okay? Because when you are in your feminine energy, you're not just operating from logic or control. You are responding to energy in real time. You are moving with what's true, not with what's forced. So I want you to think of it this way. It's like when you're using GPS to get to a location and all of a sudden the GPS says, uh-oh, there's a traffic incident ahead, take a sharp right and go this route instead. That's almost like feminine energetics in a sense, right? Because we can't see what's coming down the road. We don't have an aerial view, but God does, the universe does. But when we are operating purely from our masculine and our logic, we often will bypass those cues of, hey, something's up ahead, take a sharp right, take a nap today, take the day off, go get lunch with a friend, go do XYZ. Instead, we're like, no, logically, that doesn't make sense. This is the route. This is the strategy. This is the play. I'm going to go this way. And then we get slowed down, right? So where so many of us get stuck and have in large part gotten stuck here is because a lot of us have been surrounded mostly by masculine energy led messaging, AKA hustle culture or hyper independence culture, especially when it comes to our culture as a whole and entrepreneurship, the messaging around the two. We've been drenched in that. So this is confusing. They don't teach feminine energetics just anywhere, right? Like I had to go and seek out this information. And what's so fascinating is, again, a lot of it's intuitive, but we've been trained because we're so used to the masculine messaging to bypass that knowing, to bypass that messaging and lead with logic and strategy. So therefore, we're in this predicament where feminine energy is widely misunderstood, therefore largely underused. So anyway, all of that being said, in today's episode, I'm going to break down what's really happening energetically when you over control and overwork and overgive, and how learning to feel safe in surrender, aka leaning into your feminine, is the exact thing that opens the floodgates for more money, more support, and more ease. Because at the end of the day, control is not power. It's often fear disguised in overdoing. And when you stop confusing control with safety, that is when you are finally able to truly access your power. All right. So let's dive in. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I am so happy you are here. So really quick before we dive in, I made a last minute decision a couple of weeks ago that we are going to be running another round of Cult Brand Accelerator before the year is up. We did this in the spring. It was an incredible success. The ladies in there got insane results. You can go see the testimonials, take their word for it, not mine. So I decided, why not? We have 6-ish weeks left in the year. Let's do another round so that this round of ladies can go straight into 2026 as bosses, with these cult brand businesses and brands. So if you are in a season where you are craving very close proximity, hands-on coaching and support on your business from now until the end of the year, I will put the link to the next round in the show notes. As you listen to this, we start this week. So hopefully you're catching this early, but if you're wondering if we're still taking on members, you can DM me. So I'll put the link in the show notes. Cult Brand Accelerator is a 6-week experience to support you in building a business and brand that is undeniable, unforgettable, and unrelatably stacks cash, honey. Yes. Okay. So let's dive into today's discussion. First, let's just give a very simple definition and comparison of masculine and feminine energies. To put it very simply, masculine energy is about doing, it's action, it's direction, it's that logic, it's structure, it's receiving. Okay? Feminine energy is about being. Masculine is doing, feminine is about being. Feminine is flow, intuition, trusting, surrender, creativity, and receiving. So here's the thing about masculine and feminine energies. They both exist in everyone, regardless of whatever gender you identify with or whatever. It doesn't matter. Male, female, in between, both. Masculine and feminine energies are in every single person. Now, the magic of these two energies is learning when to lead with which. So I think a very common misconception, and maybe it's not so common anymore. I feel like more people are learning about masculine and feminine energy, but a common misconception is if you're a man, you should not utilize your feminine energy, and vice versa if you're a woman. But that's simply not true. It's just, again, it's knowing when to access and lead with which energy, and finding a balance between the two is when the real magic happens, because they're both meant to be balanced. It's the duality that's in everything. and that lives within us too. So you can overuse one and create an imbalance, which is absolutely going to affect not only how you feel, but also the results that you're creating in whatever area of life that we're talking about. So we're going to focus on business for this conversation. This is what both energies look like in business, to give you some examples. Masculine energy in business looks like setting goals, hitting targets, KPIs. I saw this video. It made me so happy. I think I reposted it. It was this gorgeous video of this woman. I don't know what she was doing. I think she was just like vibing. And it said, but she was in this beautiful scenery. I wish I could remember what she was doing, but it, like, the video was just gorgeous. It was just very aesthetically pleasing. It was a very feminine aesthetic. And then the caption was this and not knowing what a KPI is. And I was like, yes. I've only recently learned what a KPI is. And I've always felt like such an idiot about that. Can you really be in business and not know what that is? Yes, you absolutely can. Anyway, that's very masculine. All right. Not that it's bad. None of this is good or bad. It's just, this is more of a masculine energy in business, or, setting goals, targets, KPIs, etc. Okay. Other things that are masculine in business: building systems, strategies, funnels, making decisions from a logical perspective, right? The black and the white, looking at the facts and then making a decision based on the black and white of it all. Taking action, leading a team, tracking metrics, optimizing results. These are all masculine, energetic actions, I guess, in business, which actions are masculine. But anyway, you can have feminine actions too. Anyway, okay, shut up. Feminine energy in business. This is what this looks like. Creating content, offers, whatever you're creating, from inspiration and emotion, creating because you want to, right? Creating from that pure place of desire because you have something to say, because you have something to pull out of you. Feminine energy in business also looks like attracting clients, not through funnels, not through, a specific strategy, but more so through magnetism and authenticity, and knowing and trusting that that is just as good of a strategy as a literal strategy for attracting followers and clients. It also looks like trusting intuition and decision making. This is that GPS example, right? I know that before I started moving, this was the play. Before I started the launch, the play was, this is what we're doing. But my gut, my intuition is telling me we need to take a sharp right here. And I'm going to do that. It's listening to those nudges and paying attention to them. It also looks like nurturing community and connection, and also especially allowing rest, space, and creativity to guide you, to move you, to guide growth. So masculine for growth looks like just do until you're growing. It looks like that very upward motion, more equals more type energy. Feminine knows that it's all, duality is always going to be there. There's a place for the doing, there's a place for the being. And that will ultimately lead to your highest levels and probably most fulfilled levels of growth, and most aligned levels of growth. Now, it's interesting to think of masculine and feminine energies, especially in terms of my own business, because I've been in business for almost a decade now, which is so incredible. And there's definitely, it was like before understanding feminine energetics and after understanding feminine energetics. And I would say most of the years of my business was before understanding feminine energetics. And that definitely dictated the results that I was creating. So I'll say so I started my business officially in 2017, but we'll say 2018. Okay. And I would say from then, up until probably 2021. So maybe about half and half, close. I I wouldn't know feminine energetics if it hit me in the face, right? Like I'm sure there were things that I did intuitively without giving credit to, but I certainly didn't understand. I didn't know that we all have both energies and they're meant to be balanced. And I very much led my business and put an abundance of value on masculine type energies, actions, and behaviors. To me, that was what you were supposed to do. That's how you move the needle. And it's funny because when I look back, the person that I listened to the most in that phase of my business, this is so funny. I did listen to a couple of female coaches, but thinking back, and I'm not going to call them out, but they were hyper masculine, right? It was very like, do. There was no talk of just feeling, I don't know, maybe a little bit with one. Anyway, but the first person that comes to mind when I think of people that I looked up to in this era of my business, because this person was hot at the time, was Gary Vaynerchuk. Okay. It doesn't get more masculine than him in terms of his strategy. Him as a human, I think he balances both very well. He's probably even more on the feminine side. I haven't seen his stuff in a long time, but he's very heart led. But business wise, what he preached was fucking do. I don't care how you feel. I don't care if you're dying. I don't care if your family's dying. Like, bitch, you do at all costs. So I was like, 10-4, got it. Whatever you say, Gary, right? So anyway, this is very much how I led my business. And so what this looked like is like setting, again, go back to the GPS example. I would have a strategy. I would learn a strategy from, whoever I was learning from. Is okay. 1 + 1 = 2. You do the action, no matter how you feel, no matter what. You just do the thing exactly how that person says you have to do it. And at this time, I was a brand new mom. I was a brand new business owner. I was not comfortable in my skin. I was not comfortable showing up online. And I burned myself out more times than I can count. But I really forced myself through that. Now, at the end of the day, I appreciate that season of my business. And for me, I can see why I needed to experience that, because now, fast forward X amount of years, I'm sitting here telling you the story and telling you don't do that. So the only way I'm able to do that is because I lived it. So there's so much value in that. And ultimately, that season got me to where I am. So I'm grateful for it. However, where that season didn't serve me is my results were so capped. Because at the end of the day, where an overuse of masculine really bites you in the ass is because it's all tied to your action, right? And you get into this locked in feeling of more equals more. The more action I do, the more that I'm allowed to earn. The more actions that I take, the more people that I can attract, the more sales that I can get. But what happens, and where this is flawed, and where feminine energetics could swoop in and save the day, unless you don't allow them to, where this is flawed is eventually you're going to run out of time and you're going to run out of energy. You're going to run out of will. You're either just going to be tired or you're going to be burnt out or something. So those results are going to be capped for you. There's no, scaling mentality. I mean, yes, there is a scaling mentality, but ultimately, if more equals more, when you run out of more to give, then your brain automatically assumes, well, then that's all that I can receive because I didn't take the action that I was meant to, or I can't take more action to receive more. Right. So it's this flawed premise. And that's where we should be utilizing our feminine, which I certainly didn't do enough until I started learning about it and I started understanding this and I started allowing myself to lead more and to balance both, which when I started learning about this around 2021, that's when, and by the way, as I say this part, it's 11:11, but as I started learning this, it just made so much sense. And what it felt like was a breath of fresh air. You know, it felt like a soft place to land. It felt like finally figuring out the missing puzzle piece that's literally been there all along, but I wasn't allowing myself to put it into place and to utilize it. So now I very much balance both. And I've kind of found a hack for this myself because, and here's something else, just side note before I finish that thought. Side note, I'm a manifesting generator. So if you know anything about your human design, listen to this, or you can go learn about it. And I would highly, highly recommend, because it was also learning about my human design that really opened me up to the idea of feminine energetics as well. But anyway, I'm a manifesting generator in human design. And according to my human design, I am designed to create, to move quickly when I'm lit up about something. I am designed to have these unrelatable bursts of energy to take action. I get pure joy and fulfillment from doing when I'm doing the things that I love to do. So all of that is very, very masculine. And that doing energy, it looks very masculine because it's action oriented, it's productive, fast moving, and it's focused on those outcomes. But what I've since learned, and what I didn't give myself enough credit for until recently, is that the strategy of an MG is to respond and then act, which is deeply feminine at its core. And I've been allowing myself to do this a lot more, right? And I talk about this. I get asked all the time, how do you plan your year? How do you plan each quarter? How do you plan what content to create? And if you know what I say. I have no idea what I'm doing next month in most cases. I have no idea what posts I'm going to create tomorrow because I don't know what mood I'm going to be in tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to feel and what I'm going to be into. I don't know. I didn't know the theme of this month until yesterday or a few days ago, actually. But, but I didn't give myself enough credit to realize, oh, that's feminine energy in human form right there. That's deeply, deeply feminine. So anyway, really quick, if you like an amazing prompt for you, an action step for you here would be number one, if you don't know your human design, Google human design chart or, what is my human design? And it will give you it'll send you somewhere that will ask you to give them your name, your birthday, and the time and the place and time that you were born. It's going to tell you what your human design is. It's going to send you some information. Read on it. It's super interesting. Out of all of the tests like Enneagram and all the other ones, it's human design that has rung the most true for me. I mean, like spot on for most of it. And I'm the person that will tell you, I don't care what your human design says. I don't care what your Enneagram says. I don't care what anything says. Like, you're you. So don't let any of these personality tests tell you who you are or limit you. If it feels good and if it's expansive, great. If it's limiting, get it out of here. We don't need that. But anyway, if you're interested, go find out what your human design is and then put in Chat GPT how to utilize your masculine and feminine energies in business based on your human design. And it's going to explain to you, just like I did for MGs, what that looks like. And I think it's going to be really helpful for you. But the way, back to what I was saying a second ago, the way that I balance these two right now, because I do get so much joy from doing, and I have so much energy for it, that when I'm not doing, I still kind of get caught up and I'm not doing enough. And I just get a little bored. I get a little antsy. What do I do with my hands? So what I've learned about myself is I have the things that I need to do, right? There's the strategy pieces. There are the doings. Like for my last challenge, we had to get the Facebook group up. I had to teach the trainings. There's plenty of things that I do. So I do them. And then once they're done, I'm done. Sign off. And for me, the key is I've got to go keep myself busy. I either allow myself to fully relax and not stress about my phone, not stress about doing more, or even better, I go keep myself busy by going to hang out with friends, traveling, doing something fun for me that I also deeply enjoy. This allows me to balance the two, right? I get my doing done, I scratch that itch, and then I get to lean back and receive. Perfect. So anyway, I think that would be an amazing action step for you whenever you get done with this. So my business then, before I figure these things out, definitely a lot of overdoing, a lot of all-nighters, a lot of, when my body was screaming at me to slow down, to take a break, even just to take one day off, even if I was sick, I would override my knowing, I would override my feelings and my intuition, and I would get to the doing again, because that's what Gary Vee said. And this is no shade to him, because for men, in a lot of respects, that I don't know, I'm not a man, so, and I'm not like that versed at it, but I think for men, being more in their masculine, it serves them better. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that because I actually don't know if that's true, but I think so, which is why hustle culture is a thing. And it often works for men like Gary Vee, and it often works for the, Hormozy and all these other people that we see that are very, very loud about do. And they're kabillionaires. And the reason why is because that works for them. But if you don't think they're also utilizing their feminine energy in other ways, you are mistaken. They just lead more in their masculine. Now, what I have learned now is, and it's like such a beautiful contrast. Yeah, let's go with that. I like this. Let's think of these dudes, right? Like these internet bros, internet bro marketing. We can all think of one. Oftentimes they are genuinely very, very successful. And oftentimes they do preach a very masculine way of being, right? The do. At all costs, you do the thing. And again, that works for them. But as women, or people that are more feminine in their bodies, it's got to be opposite. We're not meant to, we're different creatures. We're opposite creatures. So yes, we have access to the same faculties, to the same energies, but why the doing works so well for them is because they're men. That's how they are designed, and vice versa. Now, can some women be more masculine? Absolutely. So again, this is where you just intuitively tap in to what's right for you. But if we were to be super general about this, that's kind of one way that I think about it, because I consider myself a very feminine human. So what's helped me, and again, I want to be clear, I know that's a very general statement, and there's nuance, and there's absolutely a spectrum here, and I very much so appreciate that. So I'm definitely not saying if you're a woman, you're better off being more in your feminine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying your body knows, and to trust that. And I'm just using this as an archetype. So like internet bros is an archetype that works for them because it's hyper masculine. we can think of our businesses as an archetype. If you consider yourself more of a feminine human, so then it needs to look different, and it should look different. And if it looks different, and if you allow yourself to balance and utilize more of your feminine, then that will probably work better for you. So I think the biggest thing here that's changed the game for me is allowing myself to appreciate other people's success, AKA the marketing bros, who are fantastic and they give a lot of great insights and a lot of great wisdom, but not taking it for gospel for me, because I'm not an internet marketing bro. I'm me, a very feminine woman. Like we're not the same. So appreciate it, but don't copy paste for yourself and expect to get the same results. And if you're doing that and you're not getting good results, that's what I would think about and consider. So when I made this switch and I appreciated more of my feminine approaches in business, and I focused and intentionally allowed myself to be more balanced in those energies, what happened was, because I wasn't capped in the more equals more fallacy, I was able to receive more. I was in a better energy, and I was at a higher level frequency, which is a match for more money. So I was able to receive more because I wasn't burning myself out, because I wasn't exhausted, and ultimately in the energy of fear. Because, okay, now here is one of the biggest breakthroughs that I've had, which is realizing that my overuse of masculine energy, I learned, was a trauma response. Yeah. An overuse of masculine energy. This isn't for everybody. I'm talking about for me. For me, an overuse of masculine energy and feeling like that's what I had to do. Yes, it was influence for sure. But at a deeper level, I didn't feel safe receiving. Because, and we're not going to get into my life story, but as a child and as a young woman, I was often not in a stable environment. And I often was in situations where I didn't have anybody that I could lean on and trust. So I adopted this hyper masculine-ish, this hyper independence of, I'll just do it myself. I really can't trust anybody over here, so I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to trust on myself. It's all on me. I'm not going to receive. I'm going to create it, right? Self-made. I have self-made tattooed on my hand, which I love. And there's still a positive connotation to that. But in large part, the original connotation to that was nobody but me. I got it. Hyper masculine. It was a trauma response because I did not feel safe to trust and allow. Okay. So at the end of the day, I do think it is helpful to to dig into why we do the things that we do. That's where therapy can be very helpful, and just, self-awareness, journaling. You can get to the root of this. Like, where does this come from? Oh, it comes from because marketing bros. Okay. I took that as gospel. I didn't realize there was another way. Amazing. Or, oh, I see this was total trauma response. I need to learn and practice trusting and surrendering and receiving and believing that I am safe to do so, that I don't have to hold it all. So one of the biggest breakthroughs that I've had in my business is understanding the idea of surrender, which is a feminine action, right? Just full trust of whatever happens for the greater good, this or something better type vibe. I had to shift my way of thinking of surrender, because I used to think of surrender as passive. I used to think of surrender as an excuse, as lazy, as something that sounds good and trendy, but absolutely not, because I didn't feel safe doing that. But when I shifted my idea of surrender to what it actually is when done well, it allowed me to be able to do it more. Because what I've learned surrender actually is, it is quantum trust. It's trust in the divine. It's trust in that bigger GPS system that has the aerial view. You say you want to get to this point as fast as possible. You think with your logical mind, a straight shot there is going to be the fastest way. But I see that actually is the long route, because there's traffic, because there's wrecks, because there's people on that path that are going to slow you down, that are going to confuse you, that you really don't want to run into right now. I'm trying to send you signals to take a sharp right. Logically, that doesn't make sense because a sharp right feels like it's going to be longer, but I have the aerial view. If you take a sharp right, you're going to meet that person that's going to put you in a helicopter and fly you right over all that traffic. That's surrender. It's quantum trust. Divine time. So here are some ways and other ways that tapping into your feminine energy will help you to receive more money in your business. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're here, right? That's why you're listening to this. Tell me how to receive more. Tell me how to be more of a match for more money, more fulfillment, more of the experiences that I want to experience without feeling like dog shit. I got you. And I want to get clear on these right now, because the rest of the episodes are going to get more into feminine strategies and formulas. And I realize that's a very masculine approach to teaching feminine energies, but what else am I supposed to just go with it? Okay. So we're going to go deeper this month, but I need you to be sold on this. I need you to like really, really get it, because if you really get it, you're going to be more receptive to the other strategies I'm going to give you throughout this month. And then you're going to change your freaking life and business, and you're going to love me forever. And I want you to love me forever. So here are other ways that tapping into your feminine energy, and just ways in general that help you to make more money in business, because this shifts you from forcing to allowing. So here's how this plays out. First, when you lead more or allow yourself to balance with more feminine energy in your business, you go from just being strategic, almost like this empty avatar in a sense, with no soul, to being magnetic, because you're tapped into your knowing, right? You're listening. Like there's something, like when you meet somebody who allows themselves to utilize their intuition, when you meet somebody who's I don't know how else to say it other than tapped in, there's a depth there. There's a depth there. And examples that one of my favorite examples when thinking of magnetism is now I'm going to butcher it. I'm so bad. Like, your girl will never remember a quote, and I'm going to butcher every single analogy that isn't my own. But attract, don't chase, right? So if you're wanting to catch a butterfly, what most people do is they chase the butterfly, and then what happens is they rarely catch one, and the butterfly runs away. You repel the butterfly. If you want to attract more butterflies, what do? You build a garden. So where I was going with that is, when you meet somebody, or when you become somebody who is in tune, who listens, not just with her ears, but with her body, right? She's in touch with that feminine side of her. That's literally like the image of femininity is a flower, is blooming, right? That's what you're creating. You're essentially becoming, you're being that garden, versus the strategic person that goes and chases and does the thing. Oh, there we go. We nailed it. Go team. So anyway, when you're in that feminine, your energy, it communicates this confidence, this trust. When you're having a conversation as a business owner, when you're really rooted in this trust, somebody can tell you, "Hey, I'm not interested. This isn't for me." And yes, you can ask questions and you can, be good at sales while also not being attached to the outcome, and ultimately let them go if that's what they want to do, because you're so surrendered in that trust and that higher knowing and that surrender. Another way that this helps you receive more money in your business is you're simply a match for more receiving, right? You're open to more receiving instead of overworking. You understand, yes, there's time for action, but I am the most tapped in and magnetic when I am being. When you understand that, you utilize it more. When you don't, you overwork and you overdo. So overuse of masculine energy sounds like I have to do more to earn more. I need more hours in the day, which, as we've discussed, it caps your receiving. Feminine energy is simply I'm available for more by being more. All I need to do is increase my frequency to be a match for that thing. It's not necessarily tied to, it might be tied to different actions, but not more. So we're not capping our energy. We're not capping our receiving, because when you're coming at it from that angle, there's no ceiling. You can be a match for any amount when you don't tie it to an amount of action. Another way this allows you to receive more money in your business is you radiate, you're embodied. You're embodied. And this comes through whether you're selling, whether you're telling a story, whether you're creating content. That's what creates this magnetism to offers and to specific content, because feminine energy connects deeply. People can feel it. They can resonate with it. And when you're selling and people are actually listening and feeling and believing you, well, that's naturally going to get more sales, right? Because they're paying attention. If you have their attention, you can have their sale. Well, when you're embodied and there's nothing that gets the right attention faster. It may not be more attention, because that isn't necessarily what we're after. We're after the right intention. We're after people that are a match for us and what we have to offer. So this is why I'm never overly concerned with the amount of likes, with the amount of engagement. Do I understand the value of engagement and would I appreciate more? 100%. But I don't overthink that, because at the end of the day, the women that I'm attracting into my world, something's working. And I trust that. And when I become a match to more of those women, I know that they will come. And then the last two, of how tapping into your feminine will make you a match for more receiving, is you trust divine timing and intuitive guidance. So again, instead of pushing, you act when it feels aligned. We've kind of already covered this one, but it's important to really send this one home. And by trusting this timing, it creates faster and often easier results when it's guided, not forced. That's the GPS analogy. And then finally, you just radiate overflow. There's nobody more attractive than a confident woman who trusts where she is in this moment. It doesn't mean she doesn't have desire and ambition for what's next. But as of right now, she understands this season serves a purpose and she's here for a reason. And she's deeply trusting in that. That is attractive. And when we think about the frequency of money, money loves safety. It loves pleasure. It loves expansion. Those are all at the frequency of more and of overflow. Those are all feminine coded energies. So when you're allowing yourself to be more in your feminine, you're simply signaling, I'm worthy. I can hold more. More, please. Yes, more, please. You're not capping yourself. because you're not buying into the lie that more equals more. And money responds to that energy. Money loves to be able to flow in. But when we're constantly, I'm tired, I'm done, I'm burnt out, that stops that flow. So for now, for this conversation, here's how I want you to think about this. Masculine energy builds the container. Feminine energy calls in the abundance. That's the perfect way to think about this for our conversation as business owners who often create our own offers. We create our own content. There is a creating aspect that absolutely serves a purpose and needs to happen. And then the feminine calls in and does the attracting. So masculine energy is like the ingredients of the delicious recipe that you're wanting to cook, bringing all the ingredients together, mixing them together. Feminine energetics is the oven that cooks it, that makes it delicious. We need both for this to work best. You can't just have an oven with nothing in it, and you can't just have a bunch of gross ingredients mixed together and wonder why nobody wants to eat it. Get it? Cool. All right. So again, this month we are going super deep into all of this. This is just the beginning. We have touched the tip of the iceberg. But for now, as you move through this week, here's what I want you to pay attention to. I want you to start noticing when you get the urge to overdo it. When you get the urge, this like constrictive gripping energy, this forcing energy, things don't appear to be moving the way that I want them to. What else can I do? There will be a time and a place for a doing, but then at the end of the day, you gotta let the oven do its thing. You got to let the oven do its thing. Oh my gosh, I have to use the popcorn analogy here. Oh my gosh. If you know, you know. Here's what it is. And this is where trust and surrender comes in. And this is how I want you to think of this. So I want you to imagine you're cooking a bag of popcorn. Okay. And we know what a bag of popcorn looks like. It looks flat. We know that there's popcorn in there. We know that there's results in there, but the results aren't there yet. Like you can't just open the bag and enjoy it. You gotta do something. So you put the bag of popcorn, you've done the doing, you've had the thing together, you put the bag of popcorn in the microwave and you're going to hit 2.5 minutes or whatever the time is. Here's what it looks like when you're not trusting and you're trusting too much or leaning too much in your masculine energy. It would be like you put the popcorn in, you get 30 seconds in, you look at the bag of popcorn, you see that it's still flat, and you freak out and you say, shit, what else can I do? I'm going to take the bag of popcorn out. So you're going to press eject, you're going to take the bag of popcorn out and you're looking at it and be like, what the frick? It's been in here for 30 seconds. Nothing's happening. Now, somebody wise would come through and be like, hey, genius, put it back in the microwave. And you'd be like, so this is what it's like in our business, right? When we're not trusting, when we're in a launch and we're in day 2 and nothing appears to be happening and you freak out. You're like, what more can I do? Even though you've done all the things. I want you to picture somebody coming in and say, hey, genius, things are happening. You can't see it yet, but trust and believe in the same way that we know that popcorn, up until the point it pops into a piece of popcorn, there are things happening. You can't see it. Things are moving. Energies are shifting. Energy is transforming. You can't see it. You can't appreciate it until it's popped, but trust and believe it is while it's still in the microwave. But every second you try and interject and take it out and overdo and overcomplicate, you're stopping that energy. You're not trusting. You're taking action based on scarcity of the thing not happening. You're moving in misalignment at that point. So what you need to do is put that damn bag back in the microwave, press 2.5 again, and step away. Go sit your ass on the couch and turn your show on and chill. Because before you know it, you're going to start hearing some pops. And it doesn't mean that nothing was happening during all of that time. Things were happening. We just can't see it. You can't see when your clients are having conversations with their partner on which, to move finances to get into your world. You can't see when somebody is reading your sales page again and again because they're excited, but they haven't been paid yet until tomorrow, and then they're going to buy. You can't see the new person who's going to see your post, who's going to decide that they're absolutely obsessed with you and dive into your highest level offer literally today. But if you keep going up and ejecting and turning off your energy, and shifting from trusting and receiving to fear and scarcity and overdoing, you're going to keep having these mixed, unfortunate results. Okay? Okay. So start paying attention to that. And instead of continuing to push harder, try softening. Breathe into it. Breathe into it. Let it be. Just try it. Try it on. You're going to blow your mind. So remember what you know deep down, because I know that you know this deep down. If it's meant for you, you don't have to chase it. You do not have to chase what's already meant to be yours. There are people out there that are meant to find you. There are people out there that are meant to come into your world, and they want to, and they will. But you keep repelling them by chasing them. Do the action, build the garden, let it be. This or something better. Okay. If this episode was helpful for you, please let me know. Screenshot it, share it in your stories, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Anything helps and is so appreciated to get out this message to other women who also need it. And then if you are interested in some coaching before the end of the year, remember, I'm not doing masterminds anymore. So this would be an opportunity to get some very close proximity, my eyes and ears and hands on your business for 6 weeks straight. Go check out Cult Brand Accelerator below. I love you, and I will see you next week. Bye.